Hello and welcome back. This is part 2 of my Literary Who video responses. I'm still working on a title, so yeah. If you haven't watched part 1, well, why are you here? Watch part 1 first. But enough about the intro. Let's get on to the video.
Cthulhu actually has very few feats of his own. Most of it is pure scaling, meaning we compare him with other characters and assume he should be capable of doing similar things, but Cthulhu himself does very little. Luckily, two of the things he does are actually very impressive, but let's go over the tame stuff first. For starters, he's enormous. Cthulhu is described as being miles high and a literal walking mountain. For reference, that would make him bigger than the Godzilla from the movies. Also, he can regenerate, and presumably he can manipulate the weather. This can be backed up through scaling, we'll talk about it later. Lastly, some people claim Cthulhu has some kind of omniscience because of this one line from the Call of Cthulhu. Personally, I disagree, but I have seen people claim this. You can read the excerpt for yourself and make up your own mind.
You could have just stopped the video right here because that's all that Cthulhu ever did. And plus, what is there to power scale? Because Lovecraft's original fiction is not about gods fighting, it's about horror. It's not fantastical. It's not about gods fighting. It's just why I'm confused. Like, why do power skills even power scale Lovecraft's fiction? They're not even about fighting.
Right, those are all his low-tier feats. Now let's get into the impressive stuff he has done. In the Lovecraftian mythos, there are many points of existence where higher planes of reality and the physical realm connect, and in those intersections, you can literally walk from the physical realm to a higher plane of reality, or vice versa. Now, Cthulhu does not actually live at the bottom of the ocean. He exists in what Lovecraft sometimes calls the outside, or the void. Cthulhu does not live in R'lyeh. He uses R'lyeh as a portal to descend from the outside and step into the physical realm. That's what R'lyeh is for. But what's crazy is that from the void, Cthulhu can cast his magical spells and use his psychic powers.
What a funny statement. Can you please provide any textual evidence? Because it was never stated in the Call of Cthulhu or in the Whisper in Darkness that Cthulhu lives in the void. Instead, it states that Cthulhu lives in R'lyeh and he was born in the void.
For you to properly understand why this is insane, you need to understand how big the universe of Lovecraft is. So, let's start at the bottom. First, we have the physical realm. This is the universe as you and I know it, except that Lovecraft's universe is minimum bajillions of years old and it's infinite in size, but it is three-dimensional. Now,
Beyond the Walls of Sleep and the Shunned House are not part of the mythos.
dimensionality is something that I will probably mention a couple more times throughout this video. So just so you know, whenever I talk about dimensions, I'm talking about spatial dimensions. Width, height, length.
Unfortunately for you, whenever Lovecraft uses the word dimensions, he means other worlds. Because Lovecraft, he is very, he's not very good at math.
That kind of stuff. So the physical realm is infinite in size, bajillions of years old, and three-dimensional. Above the physical realm, there's what's called the dreamlands. This is a more spiritual higher plane of existence that is already beyond time, also infinite in size.
From Beyond is not part of the mythos, and The Descendant was never published during Lovecraft's lifetime. And that statement that you brought up in The Dreams in the Witch House, it wasn't talking about the Dreamlands. In reality, the section that you brought up was actually a scene taking place in a mathematics class in a college, where the students and the professor were discussing about theoretical mathematics and quantum physics. And during this discussion, Walter Gilman said that in theory, with the right mathematical knowledge, one could step into another dimension and can return to our dimension, but it's only in theory. It would not make sense if Walter Gilman was talking about the Dreamlands in a college classroom about mathematics, because people will call him crazy and a nutcase.
And it has an infinite amount of dimensions.
This section of Through the Gates of the Silver Key was not talking about the Dreamlands. The first one was talking about different dimensions, while the other one was talking about the ultimate void.
Yeah, it has width, height, length, and then an infinite more. What does that even look like? I don't know.
I know what the Dreamlands look like. It looks like this.
Now, in the Dreamlands, one can create their own realms that can also be infinite in size.
While it is true that humans can create their own cities in the Dreamlands, it's completely involuntary. As Randolph Carter and Coraines didn't know that they created a city in the Dreamlands until someone told them. And also, these cities are not infinite in size, because that infinite abyss that was seen in Celepe is not part of the city.
And as it turns out, every being on Earth that can enter the Dreamlands is only actually accessing the Dreamlands of Earth. As I explained before, the three-dimensional realm is infinite in size and it's full of life everywhere. Every single alien civilization out there has the potential to access the Dreamlands of their planets. Each of these Dreamlands is as big as the Dreamlands of Earth, and everything I have explained to you so far comes together to form a single universe. This is what a universe in Lovecraftian mythos is like.
While it is true that Earth has their own Dreamlands and probably other planets too, it's most likely a scrapped idea, as the Dreamlands didn't serve a huge role after 1926. Plus, we don't know what the universe looks like in H.P. Lovecraft's fiction, because that's the point. You're not supposed to know what it looks like. It's indescribable. It's incomprehensible.
And there is an infinite amount of these universes, and if you were to compare a single universe with the entire structure, that universe would be an atom in size.
That section in The Whisperer in Darkness wasn't explaining the structure of the universe, or multiverse, or whatever. It was actually saying that the knowledge of the Migo is so vast and so advanced that it makes human knowledge look like an atom in comparison.
But we are not done, because beyond all of this is what Lovecraft called the ultimate gate. This is actually Yuggoth itself.
Oh my god. Why does every single power scaler not know what a metaphor is? Yogg-Sothoth being a gate is a metaphor.
And then past this gate, at the center of all creation, is the void. And here is where all of the other gods live. And then at the very center of this void is Azathoth.
That's not true, as there have been great old ones that have taken up residence on other planets and Earth, such as Cthulhu Mythos.
Now, it is from this void that Cthulhu is sending his psychic powers and magical spells.
How many times do I have to say it? Cthulhu lives in Earlier, not the Void. He was only born in the Void. I have no idea where you get this from.
From here, all the way down to planet Earth, the fact that Cthulhu's powers can reach this far is insane.
You and all the other power scalers are insane.
Now let's go over the things he should be capable of doing. First, there are these beings called the Deep Ones, and they worship Cthulhu. The other gods always trade power in exchange for sacrifices.
Oh my god. Again with the cultist babbling. No, the great old ones don't give power in exchange for sacrifices. That's just a misinterpretation of the cultist. In reality, the great old ones are very, very, very indifferent. They do not care about us or any other alien species. Except for Nyarlathotep.
A single Deep One can conjure a storm, and it is believed that all of them together can destroy the Earth.
Wait, I'm sorry. What?! The Deep Ones not only worship Cthulhu, they also worship Father Dagon and Mother Hydra. Whoever those things are. And that passage that you showed in the short story Dagon was referring to Father Dagon. And not just some ordinary Deep One, because the actual powers of a Deep One is very tame and mundane. Also, the Deep Ones can't destroy the Earth, and even if they can, they won't do it. Instead, they plan to conquer all of Earth and make it their paradise, where humans are slaves to them.
Deep Ones get their powers from Cthulhu. Cthulhu should be capable of doing these things.
No, they didn't. Deep Ones are just naturally like this.
Next, there's this lesser deity called Bokrug, and he can turn people into amphibian creatures.
The doom that came to Sarnath is not part of the mythos. Therefore, Bogruk is not part of the mythos.
Cthulhu is ranked higher than Bokrug. Cthulhu is a much more important deity. You could argue ranking higher in the divine hierarchy equals being more powerful, and
There is no divine hierarchy. Lovecraft never wanted or intended to make some divine hierarchy because he didn't make the great old ones traditional gods. They're more like cosmic principles or sentient black holes. There is no divine hierarchy of gods. If you want a divine hierarchy of gods, just read August Derleth stories or Brian Lumley's, not Lovecraft. Oh my god, how is this so hard to understand the power scalars? Ugh.
in Lovecraftian mythos, necromancy is a power that in general is associated with the Necronomicon and the other gods.
True, that is true. The great old ones can resurrect the dead because they can't die.
You could argue Cthulhu can raise the dead. This can be backed up by the fact Cthulhu plans on awakening the Cthulhians once he comes into the physical realm.
Like how I explained in the first part of this video series, that section was not talking about the star spawn. It was talking about the great old ones. Get it through your thick skull.
Moving on, there are these creatures called the Migo. They are lackeys of the other gods. They were sent from the void, and with their wings they can fly at faster than light speeds and time travel through sheer speed alone. Once again, the Migo work for the other gods. The other gods gave them this power.
No. Wrong. Can you just stop being so wrong? Like, please, can you stop being wrong? The Migo are just worshippers of the Great Old Ones. The Great Old Ones do not acknowledge them, except Nyarlathotep, of course. And the Great Old Ones didn't give them these powers. Instead, they're just naturally like this. In fact, there are actually multiple variants of Migo.
The Mayan gods exist in Lovecraftian mythos, and in fact the Mayan gods come from the void. The Mayan gods are part of the other gods. There's a man named Arthur Feldon, and he creates a device that he is confident will allow him to surpass the Mayan gods, and even then he acts humble when talking about Cthulhu.
Where do I begin with this? Oh my god. As I explained in the first part of this video series, it's more likely that the Great Old Ones inspired the myths of these human gods. In fact, to show how contradictory you are, these sections you brought up in The Curse of Yig were not saying that Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan are real. It's saying that Yig was the one that inspired the myths of these gods. So therefore, these Aztec and Mayan gods do not exist in the mythos. They are just Yig misidentified. And the transition of Juan Romero is not part of the mythos. Not every single story that Lovecraft wrote takes place in the mythos. And plus, that story was just a practice story and was never published in Lovecraft's lifetime.
Next, there's this planet called Yuggoth. It's actually just Pluto. In Lovecraftian mythos, Pluto is called Yuggoth. The planet is an outpost used by the other gods, and
Wrong. Yuggoth is used as an outpost for the Migo, not the Great Old Ones.
There's this thing called Gathanotoa. Gathanotoa is said to come from Yuggoth, so it actually comes from the void. And
also wrong. Gathanotoa doesn't originate from Yuggoth. And Yuggoth doesn't come from the void.
Lastly, there's this alien race called the Kanyanians. They come from Yuggoth. They
Oh my oh my god! How stupid are you? Oh my god! What? Aside from Yuggoth not being mentioned in the mound, it's explicitly shown that the Yuggoth spawn are not the Cananians. And you know why? Because the Yuggoth spawn are fucking extinct, and the Cananians are not!
Alright, that covers all the low-level scaling, so now we can talk about the really powerful stuff. So, remember when I said that the other gods gave humanity godlike powers? Well, let's expand on that a little bit. See, the other gods were not lying. They really did give humanity godlike powers.
You know what's the funny part about this statement? Well, it's completely not true. Oh, but please do tell me and explain how the great old ones actually give a shit about humanity. Please, go on with your little silly, power scale thing.
It's just that humanity eventually forgets how to access this power, which
The short story he is not part of the Cthulhu Mythos. Okay, now in this section, he's explaining how humans in Lovecraft's fiction can gain godlike powers by stimulating the pineal gland, which is... Come on, how can... Isn't it obvious? This is very, very, very wrong from Lovecraft's original vision and his works. Yeah, I'm sure Lovecraft, the super misanthropic hater of humanity, sure wants to give his humans godlike powers in his fiction. And now you're gonna tell me that Lovecraft betrayed a black guy as a good guy. I am honestly shocked how people legit believe in this guy. Like, come on. Oh my god, this guy does such a bad job in dissecting the mythos. God. Still better than webcam parrots.
power as dreamers. And here's what a dreamer can do. They can create their own realm that is infinite in size just by thinking about it. They can create life
Beyond the walls of sleep is not part of the mythos. And dreamers create things involuntarily.
In fact, they can't just decide to transcend into places with more dimensions. They
Hypnos is not part of the mythos.
are eternal. The passage of time doesn't do anything to them. They can exist for eons.
The reason why dreamers don't age in the dreamlands is because there's just only perpetual youth in the dreamlands, not the dreamers themselves.
Can choose to reincarnate at any point in time, be it past or present. They can remember past lives. They become so powerful they can shake all the stars. Need I remind you, we are talking about all the stars in an infinite universe.
Such a shame that all the stories that you brought up are not part of the Cthulhu Mythos.
Can transmute matter.
Those are talking about Canadians, not the dreamers, dumbass.
But here's the most insane stuff. Dreamers become so powerful that if another person looks at them, it's like if that person was looking at a galaxy.
So God help me. The reason why the main character saw that was not because Tillinghast was a powerful god thingy. Instead, it was because the narrator was affected by the resonator and his vision was getting weird.
Also, dreamers are capable of creating something that is better than something that was created by the other gods themselves. And
Well, to humans it's better. But what do humans know? They're all stupid anyway. You shouldn't apply human standards to Lovecraft's bestiary.
as the cherry on top, dreamers can time travel.
Oh, Walter Gilman wasn't dreaming in the dreams in the witch house. Instead, he was just getting teleported by Keys and Mason, and he thought those were just dreams. He is not part of the Cthulhu Mythos.
And they are actually just beyond time altogether.
The Through the Gates one was referring to the ultimate void, not the dreamers, and Hypnos is not part of the mythos. Yeah, Beyond the Wall of Sleep is not part of mythos, so please shut the up. Yeah.
Is how much power the other gods gave to humanity. Not just one person, the entire race. This is a level of power comparable to the likes of Franklin Richards or Dr. Manhattan.
Do I constantly have to remind you of Lovecraft's misanthropy?
And make a little staircase. Things are about to get out of hand. See, in the Dreamlands, there are these things called Zoogs. They are like little rat thingies. And a Zoog can eat a dreamer like it's nothing. I feel like I need to dwell on this a little bit so that you can properly grasp what I just said. I want you to think about a fictional character with reality warping powers. Any character would do as long as they have this ability. That character just got eaten by a rat.
Because dreamers don't do all of that. In fact, dreamers don't really do much at all. In this section, he explains the great circle of life in the Dreamlands, and it's very scary.
And then there are entities in the Dreamlands that can make these cats afraid. And then there are the gods of Earth.
There are no gods of Earth. Only fools who believe in them.
Group of deities that include, but are not limited to, the Olympian gods and the Egyptian pantheon. And the gods of Earth oversee both planet Earth and the Dreamlands of Earth. And
poetry and gods is not part of the mythos, and the great ones in the Dreamlands are not the same Earth gods in real life, dumbass.
then there are the night gods, creatures so powerful that even the gods of Earth are afraid of them.
Is it a bad time to remind people that the dream quest of Yuggoth technically didn't happen? And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Behold, the staircase of August Derleth.
Before I go, I want to talk about the going crazy thing, because we really need to talk about that.
This should be interesting.
See, there's this giant meme surrounding the Lovecraftian mythos where people think that in Lovecraft stories, if you look at the monster, you always instantly go insane.
This actually originated from the Call of Cthulhu tabletop RPG.
Think that this is a power the other gods have. People are under the misconception that Cthulhu has some kind of passive ability activated at all times that instantly makes you crazy if you look at him. And I'm here to tell you, that's not a thing. Yes, in Lovecraft stories, some people do go crazy when they look at the monster.
I mean, technically they do go insane when they look at the monster or the creature, but it's more complicated and nuanced than that. Instead, they actually go insane from the horrible truth that they learned from them. And you might be wondering, well, why don't these narrators go insane when they saw the creatures, Well, it's because Lovecraft has a more realistic portrayal of insanity. Like, the insanity in Lovecraft's stories are not like the ha ha ha, I'm crazy, I'm the Joker, society bad, you drink water, I drink anarchy, ooh. It's hard to describe, but if I have to describe what insanity is like in Lovecraft's world, think Anton Chigurh and not Joker.
Some characters have seen Azathoth itself, and they are fine.
Nope. It can actually destroy you if you look at Azathoth.
There is no such thing as an instant makes you crazy ability in Lovecraftian mythos.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. It was seen in At the Mountains of Madness.
Just a tiny thing, when it comes to his physical appearance, Cthulhu is said to have green colored fish eyes, 3 of them on each side going by Lovecraft's drawing. And look, I know that anyone is free to depict Cthulhu however they want, and if anyone really cared about accuracy, Lovecraft himself made a drawing of Cthulhu, so anyone could just look at the drawing for inspiration, but I'm just putting that bit of information out there, alright?
That's not a drawing of Cthulhu. That's a drawing of the Cthulhu idol. Cthulhu actually looks like an indescribable, formless, large thing. Whatever it is. And now we've reached the end of this video. And here I give my honest, genuine opinions without any exaggerated character. I'd see that literary who has passion and interest in Lovecraft's fiction. The only problem is that he's extremely misguided. And I honestly do not blame him. Damn you, August Derleth. Damn you to all hell. I also want to mention something I forgot to say in the first part of this video series. That being Atlantis fighting the Starspawn and it coexisting with the Elder Things and whatnot. In The Haunter of the Dark, it explicitly shows that Atlantis was established and founded after the Elder Things. So therefore, Atlantis did not fight the Starspawn. Alright?